Hello and welcome to the Southern View. Not a very happy day here in Bengaluru. The day started with celebrations right out there on the steps of the Vidhan Sauda. The victorious RCB team came back to Bengaluru to a hero's welcome, but what unfolded was a human tragedy. Celebrations and frenzy cost the lives of fans who were desperate to enter the Chinnaswamy Stadium. Several questions will be asked. 11 people, we believe, have died. Not just outside the Chinnaswamy Stadium, but in multiple events where there were huge crowds. Was there enough management? Was this too spontaneous for the authorities to manage? Was there foresight of this kind of crowd? Who is guilty? Perhaps even we who were dancing and singing, building up that frenzy outside Chinnaswamy Stadium. Everyone needs to answer some really tough questions, except of course the players who are being felicitated and who are being celebrated across the city. Thousands gathered outside the Chinnaswamy Stadium in that road between Cubbon Park and Chinnaswamy Stadium. A sea of humanity. They just kept pouring, both at the Vidhan Sauda outside, all to catch a glimpse of Virat Kohli, Patidar and the team. But it turned out into a tragedy. How often have celebratory events turned into a tragedy and frenzy turned into a tragedy? Extremely difficult moments as well. Some really tough questions to be asked. I have my colleague Vasudha Venugopal from New Delhi as well, who's part of this show. We are coming to you live from outside the Vidhan Sauda. Let's first listen in to Deputy Chief Minister D.K. Shivkumar and other voices on the events that unfolded a short while ago.
I have spoken to the police commissioner and all the people. I'm also going a little late to the hospital because now a lot of trouble is there. I don't want to disturb the doctors who are trying to take care of the patients. And only the exact number is not been still this one. So we are at it. We appeal to all of them to still to be calm.
How many people died?
That is why we cut off a lot of programs were there. We didn't want to continue with the program. Only within 10 minutes with one round we just closed it. And we appeal even in the metros, whatever the metros has been jammed. We are not able to start. We are taking a little bit time to see that everything comes to the normal position. There is some issues. I will come back to you after I visit the hospital.
It is an unexpected crowd. Nobody could visualize that such a big crowd will come.
Yeah.
And time was also very short. It was not announced. The match was yesterday, and today, at a very short time, whatever best possible arrangement can be made, it has been made.
Do you feel that, probably you should have taken more time or requested the team or something, because at the end of the day, lives have been lost now?
I do agree with you, but the situation was such. Many of the players was having a commitment tomorrow elsewhere.
Okay.
So they have to leave the country tonight.
Okay.
That was the situation. That's why some of, they insisted that they should leave today.
Yeah.
So that is the reason RCB is a Bengaluru team.
Yeah.
They just wanted to come and participate.
So now, to diffuse the situation, more importantly, get the crowds back home safe, what's the government doing? So any measures that are being taken right now?
No, already additional forces have been deployed.
Okay.
And a lot of efforts has been made to maintain and see that everybody should go safe home.
Well, what needs to be done now? That's a very important question Deepak Bupanna has raised. I just want to pan a little bit before I go across to Deepak, who's coming live with us. Outside the Vidhan Sauda, you see the metro stations not accessible at the moment. Huge crowds still walking down. The other fear was if the metro stations get very overcrowded at this stage. Of course, huge crowds still walking past back through outside the Vidhan Sauda. Deepak, we've had a long day in terms of this, starting with celebration, now on an extremely somber, difficult moment. What are you hearing from the authorities in terms of the exact nature of incidents that took place?
Well, I've been speaking to a lot of people, as you see, even like you were pointing out, just like the situation outside the Vidhan Sauda, outside the Vaidehi Hospital here on Vittal Malia Road. There are hundreds of people who are still coming in, but I'm going to bring you, up to date to what's happening here. 4 people were brought dead here, multiple people injured, but they're out of danger. The Chief Minister, the Karnataka Home Minister, they have just arrived at the hospital to take stock of the situation. You can see the Chief Minister, of course, there now. He's being briefed by the local doctors, the MLA of Shivajinagar, Mr. Rizwan Arshad as well here. We've been told some of the family members as well they are speaking to as we speak. Some of them now in tears. It's an emotional moment. This is not something that should have happened. Could this have been averted are questions that are coming up. There are questions coming up whether more time should have been taken. But right now, to bring you these sort of pictures which are so emotional, as the family members speak to the Chief Minister here, they are breaking down. Now he's going to visit those who are injured, is what I'm learning. It is an absolutely emotional scene, not something that people believed would happen. A day of celebration turning into a day of tragedy, really, as hundreds still try to get home. Metro stations have been closed. The gates itself have been shut at Kaban Park, at MG Road, at Vidhan Sauda is what I'm learning. People not getting cabs to go home now. People are having to walk. Well, all of this could be a part of the celebrations. Yes, crowds coming in, but the tragedy that happened, that is something that could have been averted. Very, very unfortunate as we look at more and more crowds that are coming in here. They're all trying to, of course, get home without transport right now. But the lives that have been lost are the ones that are probably the worst in this sort of a situation. Let me try and speak to a few of them. In fact, tell me, how was the situation? In multiple places there was overcrowding.
Yes.
11 people have lost their lives as well.
Yes.
Where you were, what was the situation like?
Actually, we are near the main gate. Actually, we stuck in the rain, so we couldn't go to that place.
Okay.
So luckily, we did not go there. So we were saved the place actually, and very unhappy that 11 people they lost their lives actually. It's there is a happy also, and this is a unhappy news also.
Everyone sad. Thank
Unhappy
you.
news also.
Well, thank you. Well, that's the mood, and what he said summarizes it. And he says he was fortunate that he could get away from that position when it began to rain. A lot of things, of course, could have added to the tragedy, but right now, the Chief Minister, the Home Minister taking stock. Let's hope that the people who are still on the streets get back home safe.
Well, they will get back home safely, Deepak. As we know, how many times have celebratory events turned into tragedies across India? It's not just in Bengaluru. And I can tell you, Deepak and I were out there through the afternoon. In fact, he's been up since morning. A sense of joy turned into a sense of anger, and those who've reported on crowds, and I can tell you around 4:30, Deepak, that I got a sense that this is not right, which is when we moved out from all the dancing and the singing there. Perhaps we are guilty as well for whipping up that frenzy, but it's what? It's cricket, and cricket is a religion when it comes to India, and IPL, a win has turned into a enormous celebration in Bengaluru. Unfortunately, the tragedy is the dark lining in that whole thing. Haripriya also with me from Bowring Hospital. Haripriya, what are the tales you are hearing from people? Perhaps you could have spoken to survivors. We don't know exactly how these incidents played out, but one could get a sense because of the kind of crowds that one saw outside Chinnaswamy Stadium.
I'm here at outside the Bowring Hospital, and all I see is ambulances rushing in and the cars of the politicians rushing in. There is no access here as of now to speak. It's highly guarded. We only see politicians going inside. But what we know is 7 deaths are confirmed so far, and multiple people who are injured are being admitted here at the Bowring Hospital. The ambulance is reaching here. They're taking time because, as we know, all the areas around the metro stations have completely been flooded with people walking out. So it's also caused a problem for the ambulances to reach the hospital here. Although we don't have much access, we see that the atmosphere here is quite somber, and there's nothing to be cheerful about. This is everybody is visibly tensed and unhappy with how things are turning out. We saw a swarm of ministers walk in, take stock of the situation, while the ruling ruling party, that's Parameshwara Siddaramaiah, walked in and did not make any comments here right now, but the opposition has been quite vocal about their criticism for the ruling government. They stood here and spoke about how things could have been managed better. Why was there a need for two events when there was no control of the situation? Right now, we just see more and more ambulances coming in, Veera.
Right. According to me, Haripriya and Deepak as well, I hope you guys can stay with us. It's been a long day. But according to me, three key questions. One, who's to blame? I mean, the authorities, the police had pushed and ensured that the victory parade didn't happen. And in retrospect, that was an extremely wise decision. Had that played out, it could have been worse. Number two, why was there no crowd management, no traffic diversions outside Chinnaswamy Stadium and on that road between Kaman Park? Even till about 5-6 o'clock, you could see buses and cars and traffic enormously stuck. I could see ambulances stuck. Third is about people. Why bring small children into this kind of a crowd? I wouldn't be surprised if the casualties include children, and that's really heartbreaking. We had to tell a few families which had small children in RCB t-shirts like mine wanting to get into the stadium. I think these are not places for children. When there is going to be a huge crowd, you need to keep children, old people away. Vasudha, there is a sense of anger as well in terms of how this plays out. There's a sense of celebration, multiple emotions here in Bengaluru. You're a little removed from the realities here on the field. Tell us what you think of it and perhaps who you have lined up in terms of reactions.
Absolutely, Veera, you have asked the right questions, very valid questions asked by my colleague Veera Raghav. Remember, Veera Raghav and also Deepak Bopanna and my colleagues Haripriya have been reporting from the ground there. What we understand is also that this is also the day we demand accountability as gates opened and crowd control management faltered. There seems to be this sudden surge of people that led to the Stampede situation. You also see those visuals of B.Y. Vijayendra there, BJP president, visiting hospitals, those injured. 11 people have died, and of course there was difficulty by the police to disperse people, which also could have led to worsening of panic situation. But remember that this is also the time that we need to ask questions. There was no crowd control measures, adequate measures, also basic arrangements faltered, and there was a lot of chaotic situation. That's what my reporters have also been talking about, my colleagues have been talking about. DK Shivakumar and Siddaramaiah have been actually on ground looking at the situation. There's going to be a lot of questions that is going to be asked of them. BJP has already said that this is criminal negligence. My colleague Veera Raghav has been talking about how the nature of the crowd, including several women and children, also points to several questions. Why there was no proper crowd management, what really led to this panic, and how can we say that this crowd was unprecedented, considering that there was planning that was put in place, but of course it was completely inadequate. Let's also listen into what Rajiv Shukla said today. Rajiv Shukla, of course, comes from a cricket background. Let's listen into how he reacted to this tragedy.
Because this is a cricket function, we should not bring politics into cricket. And it can happen in any state. That means the party in power there should not be blamed for this. First we should ascertain the facts. After that we should decide what should happen and who is responsible. But saying, so I think it should not be politicized at all. It can happen in any state ruled by any political party. That much, if at times it happens in some state where BJP is in power, we should not blame BJP also. भीड़ बहुत ज्यादा हो गई थी, अचानक इस कार्यक्रम को आयोजित किया गया, उसकी और ये अंदाजा किसी को नहीं था। फ्रेंचाइजी से मेरी बात हुई, फ्रेंचाइजी भी कहना उनको भी अंदाजा नहीं था कि इस तरह भीड़ उमड़ पड़ेगी। तो ये अचानक हुआ हादसा है जिसको लेके सारे लोग दुखी हैं और जो भी जितनी मैक्सिमम मदद हो पाएगी मृतकों के परिवारों की और जो घायल है उनके, वो सब करने का प्रयास हो रहा है।
डीके शिवकुमार ने सर अपॉलॉजी भी इसको लेकर मांगा और कहा कि हम लोग अभी डिटेल्स
हाँ, वही सारे अभी डिटेल्स ले रहे हैं। मेरी बात भी चल रही, कर्नाटका गवर्नमेंट से भी, पुलिस से भी, फ्रेंचाइजी से भी। नहीं, देखिए इसमें रिजिग्नेशन ये सब फिर पॉलिटिसाइज करने की बात है। ये पॉलिटिक्स की बात थोड़ा ना है।
Reactions all coming in thick and fast. My colleague Deepak Bopanna, who was live with us just a short while ago, attempted to get a reaction from Chief Minister Siddaramaiah at the Vaidehi Hospital. Just listen in.
Sir, 11 people losing their lives, sir. What do you have to say, sir? A moment of happiness turning into tragedy. Siddaramaiah, sir, what would you like to say to the families? 11 people losing. Sir,
Well, that's Deepak Bopanna trying to get a reaction from Chief Minister Siddaramaiah. Obviously, several important questions to be raised, both in terms of society, as I was mentioning, both in terms of crowd management, whether this was just way too spontaneous, even if it was spontaneous, what was the arrangements outside the Chinnaswamy Stadium. I believe former Director General of Police Vikram Singh joins us live as well. Sir, when you see these scenes, and this is not the first time celebrations turn into chaos, I just want to run you through the facts that there was supposed to be a victory parade. We believe that the police had requested the government not to go through that kind of a victory parade, which would result in both crazy traffic situation in Bengaluru and a lot of problems for the people. In hindsight, it was an extremely wise decision. But outside Chinnaswamy Stadium, there was very little of planning, as one would say, those who witnessed what was happening through the day. What do you think when you see all these scenes on your television screens?
My heartfelt condolences to the bereaved families. And I would say that this was a tragedy that was very much avoidable. I would say that to your first and very pertinent question, who should take the responsibility? The police and the administration can never, and I say never, absolve themselves or wash their hands off the case. Whatever be the constraints, it was their job to ensure fail-proof and fool-proof arrangements in which there was a failing. I would not like to cast any allegations at this point of time. There are very heartening pictures of policemen running along with those who are injured, giving them first aid. Well, but apart from the fact that every district, including Bengaluru, has what is known as an internal security scheme that is rehearsed every month to cater to such contingencies and emergencies. Had that been done, I would say that we would have put our best foot forward. To the contrary, we were caught on the wrong foot. Why were we caught on the wrong foot? Poor reinforcement, poor handling of the force, no preparation, and of course, free distribution of passes. Free distribution passes, it is something akin to get one and take 5 more free. So one free pass leads to the entry, unauthorized entry of 5 more people, and then what ensues is a free-for-all. What you see is a free-for-all, and I saw exemplary restraint from the Bengaluru policeman. It was only in one isolated example where the policeman was brandishing. He was not actually hitting with lathis, he was brandishing. Perhaps that was the conclusion. But you very rightly said, use of force is just not the answer to such situations, because this is not a hostile crowd. These are cricket fans, and they had gone there because of maybe excessive enthusiasm. And as you very rightly mentioned, it is religion. And therefore, I would not fault the people. I would say that the police and the administration should have done much better.
Right. A.K. Jain is also there with us. He is also a former DGP. Mr. Jain, stampedes are not uncommon in this country, but clearly today was different because, like Mr. Singh was also pointing out, that this was not a hostile crowd. This was a crowd that just wanted to celebrate. We've seen previous instances of poor planning, limited exits, or even lack of medical readiness. And today, if you look at the visuals, a child being carried, people gathering around somebody who has just become unconscious. Okay, B.Y. Vijayendra, the former, the present president of the BJP Karnataka is on the phone line with us. Mr. Vijayendra, you just visited people who have been injured in this tragedy. Tell us, what do you gather from the ground there?
Ma'am, I just spoke to one of the victims at the hospital, Boring Hospital. They were really in a big shock when such a tragedy was there. Stampede was taking place. No ambulance was available, police was not prepared. And what sort of preparation was this? When such a massive ceremony, celebration was going to happen, was it not the responsibility of the state government to be prepared for this? And more than 11 lives has lost. Chief Minister should answer for this.
Sorry.
Yes, sir.
No, absolutely. Questions have to be raised, Mr. Vijayendra. Veera Raghav here. The point really is that this kind of a crowd frenzy, I think, needs to be asked about the frenzy as well. No one anticipated the kind of crowd, and I'm not holding a brief for anyone. Yes, there were serious questions that need to be asked about whether they anticipated what were the preparations outside Chinnaswamy Stadium, but it was an enormous crowd that came in. It's actually disappointing, the kind of frenzy that could result in people bringing children as well. Don't you think that's also a point of reflection that's needed, perhaps to all of us who drum up that frenzy?
This is not for the first time. Earlier also, if you remember in the last World Cup, Mumbai, when India won, more than lakh crowd was there. But then state government did manage the crowd. But here, when state government was aware, like more than lakh people will come to the stadium, where was the preparedness? See, I'm not politicizing the issue. I'm not trying to politicize the issue. But the fact remains, when more than 11 people have lost their lives, state government should own this responsibility.
Also, given that Bengaluru has a history with both traffic and crowd bottlenecks, what do you think the administration should have done better? Because we talk about a larger open space venue. This happened right outside. The felicitation is still going on. What do you think the administration should have done better?
Unfortunately, the state administration was more interested in publicity. Rather than people's safety, they were more interested in publicity. You can cross-check with your sources. When one more celebration was organized near Vidhan Sauda, police department denied the permission. They tried to convince Chief Minister to not to organize function near Vidhan Sauda. People had rushed to Vidhan Sauda also. And the stones were pelted, slippers were thrown towards the podium. The players' safety was also compromised. See, the issue is when the state government was aware, because so much of crazy fans in and around Karnataka and across the country. Oh, in fact, I met one of the victims who had come from all the way from Mumbai. So not only Bangaloreans or Kannadigas, many people had come from other states also. So state government should have worked properly. Proper plan should have been in place.
You're making a very important point there, and yes, serious questions will have to be raised about the need for two celebrations, whether it should have been a couple of days later when they could have planned well. But another very important question here, Vijayendra, was it right to go ahead with the celebrations after this tragedy? Do you think that there should have been a sense of remorse and perhaps cancelled the celebrations? Many people do ask that question, and it's not just a question to the politicians or the cricketers, but it's to the fans as well. Is it right to have gone ahead with the celebration?
Where I don't want to comment anything beyond this, because anything more which I speak, they will consider as a political statement. But whatever happened is unfortunate. The way state government has behaved after this tragedy is also very unfortunate. They should have stopped the celebration. They should have stopped the celebration immediately, but nothing of that sort, because nobody was there to there no preparedness, and nobody was there to control.
Right, but Mr. Vijayendra, what about the state administration's response even after the tragedy, do you think was not responsible?
Let's wait, ma'am. As far as we are concerned, we have demanded Chief Minister that he should order for judicial inquiry. And secondly, let Chief Minister decide who has to take up the responsibility. Let him decide. Because someone has to own the responsibility. Someone has to held accountable. Someone has to be held accountable.
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely, someone has to be held accountable. You've raised two important questions. One, you are demanding a judicial inquiry. Two, you're asking who is responsible for it. That needs to be named. Thanks very much there, Vijayendra there, the Karnataka BJP president. Vasudha, while those questions are being raised at the moment, it's an extremely difficult moment. I think there are multiple other questions as well that we need to raise when we come back. We'll get into a short break, and then when we come back, you can take over with your guests in terms of more questions on this tragedy. Of course, at the moment, the news is about 11 people having died, having lost their lives in that enormous crowds that gathered for the celebrations at Chinnaswamy Stadium and at Vidhan Sauda in Bengaluru. Let's get into a short break now.